There is no neutral ground. This is not Switzerland. This is North America, and people are getting killed. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. Before I get into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on social media if you want to. This is my Instagram. This is my Twitter. Okay. It's really early right now because I couldn't sleep because of the current state of the world. Keeps me up. Last night Trump was tweeting, which is never good, but particularly bad this time because he basically gave the National Guard, or the military, the okay to shoot black people that were protesting. He literally said, what did he say? When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Anyways, I saw that tweet like right before I was trying to go to bed, and I was like, I can't sleep now, like. But this video is about the dangers of white silence and what, if you are watching and you are a white person, can maybe do to help what's going on. Or a person of color who isn't black also. So what is white silence? White silence is when white people, or for all intents and purposes right now, people who are not black. When people who are not black do not speak up about the injustices going on right now. In so many words, that is white silence. And they try to remain neutral in situations like this, or political arguments, or la-di-da-di. Neutrality is a lot of people's default because they don't want to offend anyone, which on the surface seems like an understandable idea, but here's why it's not. The white culture is the dominant culture. You guys have the voice. You have the platform. You are the ones with the power and the privilege. Recognizing your privilege is a whole other video that I probably will make, but white people have the platform, the power, the privilege, the voice, the numbers. When white people were protesting social distancing and businesses being closed, they were protesting with rifles. They were protesting with automatic weapons, with signs like, I need a haircut. If white people are protesting with guns at police and nothing is happening, and that is about the need to get a haircut, and black people are protesting about their right to exist without being murdered on tape and the murderer walking free, and they are doing it peacefully. They don't have weapons, and they are getting tear gassed and shot by rubber bullets, and then the president says, if they loot, you can shoot. That is why we need white voices to speak up. Because when you guys speak up, no matter how you do it, if you have a gun to a police officer's face, he's still not going to shoot you. We do not have that privilege. Black people do not have that privilege. You would think it's obvious by now, but it's not. Apparently. You may be thinking, why does your individual voice matter? As a white person, you may be like, well, I'm not a politician. Nobody listens to me necessarily on issues about politics. I'm just, let's say you're just a college student. You're a young person. You don't consider yourself to have a lot of power. First of all, you have power in the color of your skin. And I would love for you to recognize that. If you're male, you have power in your gender. I would love for you to recognize that. If you are well off or simply not struggling financially, you have power in that. Use it. If black people could change this on their own, it would be done by now. The fight has been constant. The fight has been constant since the beginning. So clearly, if the oppressed could just fight the oppressor and the oppressor goes away, it would have been done by now. But clearly that doesn't work for so many reasons. But the reason your voice does matter is because if you're not advocating for the oppressed, if you choose to remain neutral in times like this, you are choosing the side of the oppressor. Why? Because that is called permitting something to happen. If two people are in front of you and one person is punching the other, beating the other up, and you just stand there and you don't do anything and you watch this person get pummeled, and say you are a completely able-bodied person who is able to break up the fight, who has every ability to stop the pain and the harm of the person who is being hurt, and you just stand there, you are in some ways, in many ways, responsible for the pain of that person. Just like the cop who was standing by talking to the people filming George Floyd being murdered. And he's like, he is responsible for the death of George Floyd because he has the badge, he has power to stop his colleague from kneeling on a person's neck. And when you don't use your power, the thing is, there's no default. There is no neutral. There is no passivity. That is not a thing. Remaining neutral is the side of the oppressor because you are just permitting something to happen. If you don't help stop the problem, you are part of the problem. It's like I'm saying this and it's obvious to me, but I know that it's not obvious to a lot of people, so I have to say it, and I feel so redundant, and I'm so tired. But that's just where we are. If you think this isn't your fight, it is. I don't know what else to tell you. You are a human, and you should care about another human. I really don't get why it's that hard. You should care enough about people being murdered and that murderer walking free. You should care enough to ruin your Instagram aesthetic. You should care enough to start an uncomfortable conversation with your racist uncle. You should care enough to challenge not only your own racial bias, but the racial bias of those around you. Even if you experience backlash. Because at least you don't feel fear for your life when you're just out doing regular things. Driving, going for a jog, existing in the wrong color skin. Like, you don't have to deal with that. So because of that, your privilege is your responsibility. This is your responsibility. This is your job. And if you don't think so, you are supporting racism. And let's talk about, I think we need to talk about what racism really is. Because I was thinking about this. I think this will be a good analogy for a lot of women to understand. Hopefully people in general, but particularly women. We are taught, us women, and some other people, but mostly us women know this. As women, we notice and realize that the narrative surrounding rape and rape culture is that rapists are only crazy, strange men who hide in the bushes at night and then attack a random woman in the middle of the night. Like, it's this lore that it's this strange, an anomaly who hides in the bushes and does terrible things. When in reality, we know the statistics that most women are raped by someone they know. And that person actually does it a lot. And that person has a lot of friends and a lot of men and women who vouch for that person and say that they would never do things like this. And that person is not like a weirdo in society. That person is very normal. That person is everywhere. That person is respected a lot of times. I believe that situation, that narrative versus the reality, can be applied to racism, and here's how. We, as a society, a lot of times I feel like the narrative is racists are these crazy bad apples. Racist cops are these crazy bad apples. Where did they come from? How did they do this? They're just these monsters. When in reality, they are a product of a system that, just like rape and rape culture, they are a product of a system that perpetuates, encourages, and allows this behavior. They are not some crazy anomaly coming out of the bushes. Oh my God, a racist, a rapist, what? How? Where did they come from? Oh my God. It's not like America was literally built on slavery, built on racism, built on sexism. Look at the foundation. How can you look at the foundation? Probably because it's not taught correctly in schools. But how can you look at the foundation once you know it? Say you educate yourself. How can you look at the foundation and look at the tree and not see the connection? But back to racism. As always, because it is always about race and it is always political. So race. I would love for us as a society to stop thinking about race as this thing that appears in a few bad apples that make everybody look bad. And then we have white people saying, well, I'm not racist. I didn't own slaves. Blah, blah, blah. You have to do a lot of work to not be racist. Because it's ingrained. It's in the water. It's in every system, every establishment. It's in the air you breathe. So for you to not be racist, you have to do a lot of intentional work and self-education. And if you have not done that, and you will know if you have, and even if you what's funny is that the people who have are the first to acknowledge their privilege and their racial bias, because they understand how it works. And they understand it is in the air you breathe. It is not some bing, bang, boom, we're gonna make this person racist and this person racist and this person racist. It's in the water you drink. It is built in the system. It is built from the foundation. It is in the roots. And then what happens is when people are in positions of power, it is most obviously seen. But it's not that it's just cops are evil. It's like, think about all the places along the way where those 4 cops were permitted to have racial bias or racial prejudice or just straight out racism. Think of all the people around them, their families, that permitted and allowed and either were silent or encouraged that behavior. You do not get there by yourself. Just like Trump does not get to be president by himself, everyone voted or didn't vote. Not voting is a vote for the oppressor. I don't care if you agree with me. I really don't. You need to vote. You need to vote. And you need to think about who you're voting for. Do not just vote for someone because your parents are voting for them. You were gifted with a brain of your own. I beg of you to use it. And if the person that you are electing is going to kill your friends Because tons of you are friends with black people. And that's why that's gonna be your excuse for why you're not racist. And I just have to tell you that it doesn't work like that at all. And once again, racism is not black or white. I need to use a different term there, huh? Extreme or non-extreme. There's a spectrum. And you vary along the spectrum at all times. It could be anywhere, but it's not either you're racist or you're not. Racism is a structure, it's a system that thrives everywhere. Like, it's inescapable. And the only way to minimize it is to acknowledge the ways that you are supporting it without knowing or without thinking. But if you vote for Trump, no matter what your reasons are, whether you think he's gonna help fix the economy, he's gonna whatever, know that is a vote for racism. There's no excuse. And you're kidding yourself if you think his presidency has not affected the racial climate of this country and is not in part responsible for these incidents of police brutality. Yes, they were happening before, but now people who are racist and people who are, let me say this, people who are intentionally racist. Because that's kind of what I'm trying to say. My point is, you don't need to be intentionally racist to be perpetuating racism. You do not need to be like, I hate black people, to be hurting us. You could just be silent, and that is harmful. You could just be the kind of person who says, I don't see color, or says that person is really, really tan when they mean black, or say, when someone's like, oh, well, who's this person? What do they look like? And they're like, well, they're black. They're black. Why are you whispering? I know why you're whispering, but I want you to tell me why you're whispering that word. You're scared of it? Because we're scared of you. What it comes down to is accountability for who you voted for, what you're saying or not saying, what you're doing or not doing, who you're protecting or not protecting. You're either protecting your system of power, the imbalanced power dynamic, or you're protecting black people. There is no neutral ground. This is not Switzerland. This is North America, and people are getting killed for being black. And either you're supporting that or you're trying to protect us. And it's in your best interest. Your voice matters. Your voice matters. Your voice matters. Your voice matters. Each individual person's voice and opinion matters. If every white person was actively advocating for black people, this would not be happening, but complacency is perpetuating this. I don't know how many other ways I can say it. But I encourage you to educate yourself, and I encourage you to speak up. I encourage you to take a political stance, because you're doing it regardless. If you are neutral, that is a political stance on the side of the oppressor. It is your choice if you want to be on the wrong or the right side of history. It is your choice. Everything you say and do can either perpetuate or help to eliminate these structures. That's all I have to say. Speak up. Stand up. Stand for something. Don't be neutral, because neutral doesn't exist. That's all. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.